Welcome back to the Splash Live. This is Diane Shaban alongside Tyler Kieft. So, this year commemorates the 20th anniversary of the collaboration between the West Bloomfield Fire Department and the Tri-Cities of Greater West Bloomfield. This visionary decision, born out of discussions that started more than 20 decades ago, was centered around bridging the divide between volunteers, fire services, and professionally staffed stations. This long-term vision has not only strengthened community safety, but it also serves as a shining example of the power of collaboration in our community. And here to tell us all about it is Chief Greg Flynn from the West Bloomfield Township Fire Department. Chief Greg, thank you for having us today.
Oh, good morning, Dan. How are you?
I'm good. So, Chief, as you said, as we celebrate the 20th anniversary of this collaboration, can you give us a little bit of more insight about the history of this collaboration and how did it come about?
Sure. It's really, as you kind of said in the opening there, the sharing of government services and especially emergency services was born out of the increased need for services within Orchard Lake, Sylvan, and Keego. Again, kind of the pressure put on the paid on call and the volunteers that were really working very, very diligently to keep up with those needs. And so it seemed like an appropriate time to have talks with West Bloomfield. We have some areas up that in that surrounding space that also had kind of some challenges with response times. So by making the merger, it really was a win for the residents of West Bloomfield, especially those up near the Tri-City area, and for the residents in the Tri-City. Again, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the gratitude and the professionalism that those paid-on-call and volunteer firefighters provided to the community for many, many decades.
Now, according to your knowledge, Chief Greg, do you know of any challenges that were faced during this collaboration, or if there were any, or if there are any ongoing challenges up till now?
The challenge is always when it comes to emergency services is funding. Providing for what if something happens, how much we're all willing to kind of pay into those services. That's always a challenge. And you want to create an environment where you're attracting the best and the brightest within professional emergency services. So the costs that go with providing police, fire, EMS services are usually it's the central component. Delivering the service when you have professionals like the men and women that hold the rank of firefighter, paramedic here in West Bloomfield, that's relatively easy. When you hire people that are going to thrive within that environment and care about the citizens that they're responsible for, that really is the easy part of it.
Now, regardless of the challenges, we understand that every collaboration has a challenge, and there's always a funding challenge, of course, especially when it comes to first responders. But what do you think was the impact over the last 20 years? According to your knowledge, what was the impact? How did that collaboration save? Can you provide just a little bit of example?
Oh, I think that the collaboration has resulted in a better quality of life for many people. I think the collaboration between the four communities has resulted in lives saved and property saved because of an integrated response model that puts the right resource and the right amount of resources at the address within all four communities. And at the end of the day, it may be difficult to measure that on a spreadsheet, but I would say and venture to be so bold to say that I think there would be a line of people saying, here's how the WBFD in collaboration with the Tri-Cities had a positive impact on my family or on my neighbor.
That is true. And we read a couple of stories from a while back, like even 10 years or even at the first moment this collaboration started, about some fires that would have never, that some people that would have never lived because, but they did because of that collaboration, right? Because of the faster response times, when it was like 15 minutes when every city was doing it on their own versus 2 minutes or even 5 minutes when the collaboration started. So looking ahead, Chief Greg, how do you think this collaboration evolved over time, and how is it going to evolve over time, and what are the future plans to this collaboration?
I think we'll continue to evaluate how community risk reduction plays a role within the Tri-Cities. That's a big part of our fire marshals division as those communities continue to develop and redevelop certain areas within their commercial and residential components. We'll continue to look at how we deliver services and the types of vehicles and the skill sets for what we're going to hire to meet the needs of all four communities. And it's really a privilege to serve as the fire chief for all four communities. And we want the Tri-Cities, and they do understand through the cooperation through the Tri-City Fire Board, where each community has representatives that sit on that board, that they know that they have a connection with the fire department that is real and live and 24/7 to ensure that, again, fire is everyone's fight within a community. We all play a role in that. So our success in extinguishing a fire or making a rescue is predicated on someone calling 911 or a watchful neighbor seeing smoke or seeing something unusual in the behavior of a neighbor and seeing the diabetic signs and symptoms starting to emerge. So community response, emergency services, we all play a role in that. And we're, again, very grateful for the partnership with the Tri-Cities and look forward to continuing that relationship for decades to come.
That's great. That's awesome news, Chief Greg. Thank you. Also, this collaboration serves as an example to other communities. So, in your opinion, what other advices you can give to other communities trying to also collaborate, and what kind of advice do you give them, and how is it in your experience, like personally, how do you think that this will help them, like just as an advice?
Sure, that's a great question. My colleague Chief Covey up in the Waterford Regional. It's called Waterford Regional Fire Department because of their cooperation with the community of Lake Angeles. Chief Johnny Menifee in Southfield with Lathrop Village. We see these smaller communities that want the services of a larger community, a larger fire department, 24-hour career staffed stations. And we just have to remember that these services cost real dollars and that we put together strategic plans and a smart collaborative agreement like we have with the Tri-Cities that all the communities in the agreement benefit. And that's what it's about, is making sure that the community that's paying for it, the taxpayers, understand what services they're getting for the dollar spent. And when I talk to residents and we explain what they're getting, that's the value. And when they feel there's value for what they're paying for, then they go all in. And that's the second point that I would make, is that fire chief talk to the community and make sure that they understand and make sure that's what they want, because the community must want it, not just the fire chief and the firefighters. The community is going to want to have that service.
That is true, and safety is the greatest thing we can pay for, right? The greatest tax we can pay. I'm sure nobody in our community is going to have trouble. Nobody in different communities is going to have trouble, given also the fact that fires are now starting from naturally, right? Climate change or whatever it is. So it's not just human-made fires, it's also natural fires. Chief Greg, to wrap this up, what are your final notes, or if in summary, if you would like to say anything or share anything more about this amazing 20th anniversary, please go ahead.
Well, I want to thank the Tri-City Fire Board and the fire commissioners, specifically Commissioner Dave Berger, who just completed 20 years. He was one of the originals that was in there, and he's decided to step away and pursue some other things. So we're grateful for his years of service. Again, all of the members, all the commissioners on the board, and we're grateful to the communities. I think all the elected officials, the residents should be very proud of the fact of their collaborative efforts on fire and EMS services and dispatch services. All of those are shared, and that's very important. So just remember too, again, that fire is everyone's fight, and to be watchful of your neighbors, and just wishing everyone a very enjoyable rest of a safe summer season, and looking forward to fall.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, Chief Greg. Valuable advice and valuable insights into this amazing collaboration that happened 20 years ago. And thank you and all your team for always being there and rescuing everybody in our community. Tyler, going back to you, what an amazing collaboration, Tyler. 20 years ago, how many lives this have saved? I'm sure we cannot put this in books.
Yeah, certainly has been an historic partnership in the greater West Bloomfield community and has brought these communities together to provide for greater public safety through the Tri-City Fire Department with a location, a fire station right on Commerce Road and Orchard Lake in West Bloomfield, supporting that community. Orchard Lake Road, just north of Commerce Road, is one of the fire stations that supports that area of our community, and of course, building those partnerships, providing an example for other communities that ultimately brings everybody together. And I would encourage anyone that hasn't watched a Tri-City Fire Board meeting of late. If you're going to watch any of them, go to our website on civiccentertv.com on our on-demand page under meetings and select Tri-City Fire Board. They had a really interesting back and forth between the Fire Board at their previous meeting in May. It's kind of talking about the historical rise of the Tri-City Fire Department and that partnership between the Tri-Cities and West Bloomfield. If you haven't watched that, I would highly encourage you to do that. It gives a lot of really interesting insight into how this board came together and this partnership came together.